It was. Learned a lot, though.
Yeah, some good stuff.
And it lined up well with procurement.
Yeah.
We're back on the record. First item is sustainability with the Crisis Center. Introduce yourself, if you would, Matt.
Yeah, Matt Harden. I'm the director of the Southeast Idaho Behavioral Crisis Center.
So where we at?
So this is the annual sustainability report that's required for our contract. And the state still doesn't have like a good number of where they want sustainability at. They just want to see that we're working towards it. And so this report just kind of reflects what our goal was last year, what we're looking at next year. We had a goal of 72% of 28, and we met it with 27.8, so right there at the mark this year. Next year, we're looking at a 4% increase in sustainability, which we hit that just last year. And so we're pretty confident that another 4% is pretty doable. And then the rest of the report just talks about how we plan to achieve that, and that's a lot more outreach. For us, 4% increase is just about 2 more billable individuals in the center a week. When we started the Crisis Center, we averaged about 7 or 8 individuals in the building. With COVID and everything, we dropped to about 4 to 5. And so I feel like as we start climbing out of this, our numbers should go right back up, and that should give us that 4% increase in sustainability.
How have you done with Medicaid registrations and stuff like that? And
getting people signed up?
yeah, because I know that was one of the conversations that we had is that, well, Medicaid will just take care of it. Well, what we had found is, well, these guys aren't registered, and
yeah. So it's gone really, really well. Probation, the jail, the prison, a lot of these individuals are getting signed up way before they even hit us. Maybe at the very beginning, we were signing up a few people, but rarely are we signing anybody up anymore.
because they're usually
Most people are connected, yeah,
okay.
which is fantastic.
Yeah, because that was one of the big concerns with this was, well, how are we going to get them all
Yeah,
taken care of, and what are we going to do?
yeah. Probation and the prison has been fantastic about doing that.
As I look through the report, it looks really good. So will you talk just a little bit about your fundraising activities and the grants you've been going after, things like that?
Yeah, so one of the main grants that we have right now is the EDPTC, and so that's the grant that we have that diverts individuals from the ED, right? Because if we're COVID individuals at the hospital, we want to make sure that our individuals that are going to the hospital for mental health and substance use issues feel safe, right? We've heard a lot of like cancer screenings reduced to 0 because of the fear of going into the hospital. So the mental health and substance use individuals have reduced quite a bit too. So this grant, people go to the ED, but then they refer straight to the crisis center. And so they're not waiting in the ED for 8 hours. They're being triaged and then sent to us a lot quicker. With that grant comes a lot of burden rate, and so we're able to pay our staff out of that grant to see those clients coming from the hospital. And so just with that grant, we have like 146,000 in burden rate, and so that gives us an additional 1,000 to 2,000 per week in sustainabilities. Because per week is what we look at. When we bill Medicaid, we need to bill right at 10,000 a week to fill that gap from where the state reduced their funding to us. So that's about 10,000 a week. Currently, we've been averaging that 6 to 8, and so that's where that 4% increase will meet that 10,000 mark. And so having that ED grant, right, that extra 1,000 to 2,000 helps sustain that a little bit.
Cool.
Other grants, we work with IDOC. We have a few other grants that we have that kind of help sustain a little bit. Fundraising in the future, we're looking at, and it's more of outreach. You don't make a lot of money with like 5Ks or anything like that, but when we're looking at such a small margin, any kind of money really helps us out.
One of the things that I was thinking about as you were talking was a couple of weeks ago, or last week, I guess, I went out to Century High School and met with their student body presidency and all that. Had a great conversation with them. And one of the things that their concern is with our area is not enough mental health.
Yep.
And so if I could, I would encourage you to call Meg Fleischman out there and go spend an hour talking to them about the resources that are available.
Okay.
There were several students that wanted to get involved and were looking for opportunities to get involved in community efforts.
I was impressed that was high school kids that were, the direction.
Yeah,
Yeah, and as you were talking about that, I thought, man, that's something I know these kids don't know that's out there as a resource. And so that would be good, just good PR for you.
Yeah,
Help
for
spread
sure.
the word.
yeah, this younger generation, they're way more open with the mental health and substance use. And with the opiate epidemic that's been happening, they've been faced with it the most than any other generation. But being able to talk to them and they're just so open about it. But yeah, you talk to anybody that's in their early 20s and it's almost a guarantee that they've lost somebody to a heroin overdose, a family member, a friend.
And it was interesting, as we were talking with them, we asked them what kind of industries and businesses they'd like to see more of in the future, and mental health was on the top of the list.
Well, and a lot of it too in our community, I'd even go further than in that generational thing, is you've really seen, those of us probably are, there's a couple of us in the room that are our generation and lower. That's really where the opioids and a lot of that epidemic, because that's where it was all prescribed for.
Mm-hmm.
And you're seeing people that, and that's, I've seen it coming out of my world with all of my military buddies that have had to deal with TBI and a bunch of other things where they didn't really consider the mental health issues of a lot of the narcotics and other things that they were giving. And so that's something that, we need to be on the lookout here, because that's, I saw another thing, what was it, the growth rate of mental health issues and young professionals was up like 30%. So anybody who's basically to the age of 45 to 35 in there, they're seeing this. I think a lot of people, they're finally out, they're out of school, they're working for a couple of years, and then they start getting stressed and freaked out, and, reality sets in that, wow, it's not fun not being in school anymore.
Summer break, there's no more summer break.
What? I don't get to go spring break?
3 months off?
We don't get to go. We don't get to go raid for spring break. No, we don't get to do that. But
Now you gotta pay back your student loans.
yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
That's it.
well, but that's really the thing that you're in our community. Our average age bracket, our average age of a citizen in Bannock County is 34.6 years old. So that was something that kind of caught me off guard. Is okay. So if this is really a push, and when you look at our average age, well, that means that we're probably in that.
Yep.
Well, and so.
Matt, I was gonna ask you, with the EDPTC, is that right, EDPTC?
Yeah.
That ends this upcoming fiscal year.
This August, yeah.
Is there any grants that are similar to that we're aware of that?
So we'll see. They approached us at the end of last grant to extend it another year, and we've asked them, do they see this extending another year for us? And they're not 100% sure. So
Well,
we'll
there's a
see.
chance that
There's a chance it could be extended for another year.
Gotcha.
But a lot of the grants we have right now are all COVID. It's all COVID money, right? And so I think once we start getting out of this, finding those grants may be a little bit harder to do. So, but again, with the Medicaid billing on the back end, it's been nice to sustain us while the numbers are low, and doing outreach is incredibly hard. Again, with COVID, we opened in April of 19, and that winter is when COVID hit. So I had 6 months to do outreach, and then everything shut down for the last 2 years. And so there's still people that don't know about us in the community, which is fine. It's circumstances, but we're finally getting back out into the community a little bit more. Starting in January for the next, I think it's 4 months, we're going to be doing some broadcasting on the Spanish radio stations that run on the AM stations. Part of our contract is to reach out to those underserved populations, so the Spanish-speaking population and the Native American population. So we had the billboard up for the last, 6 months maybe, and so we're switching those funds over to that broadcast. So
Could be good.
yeah, we're doing what we can to see, during COVID, how else can we get out there, right?
Yep.
That stuff's pretty expensive, but they've been cutting us deals, which has been really nice.
The other thing that'll be interesting is to see and watch the budget in the legislature this year.
Yeah.
There's a huge tax surplus. I've heard there is a big push in the governor's budget for more mental health type stuff, and so I want to see how they're actually gonna break that down. They haven't released those budgets yet, so that's one thing that we'll need to look at. And there's always I've heard that there are some RSs floating around up in the legislature that haven't been released, that they're talking about additional funding for certain things that way. So.
And then talking about the outreach, I think that we need to utilize our board a little more. And I talked with Shark Manu the other day. He says, well, I really don't know what I'm supposed to do on the board, but I want to stay on the board.
Okay.
And I think that some of these outreaches, that if he or board members accompany, I think it would be at least get the board more involved with what's going on. I think we're all learning. Like I say, we're kind of new, and
Well,
what are we supposed to do?
your board is usually the community leaders of those counties and areas that they come from, or just people that are involved in, that are usually there. Those are, that's what's funny is everybody in this community knows Tony.
Yeah.
I don't know anywhere you go that people don't know who Tony is in one way, whether he was their football coach or he arrested them or something, just one of the two. But use them, that's, especially in the smaller communities, that's where I would always have those guys involved, because they'll probably know everybody that can help.
Yeah.
Well, your presentation down at the soda the other day was very well received.
Yeah.
Good. More of that, but that was good.
Yeah, that was a great opportunity for sure, because it's hard to get all those counties together, so it's great.
Well, and that's something that as we have, other county meetings, because we have those throughout the year and stuff like that, and whether it's just an update, because like the next one's going to be in Boise, so and it wouldn't be worth your time coming over for 10, but just even updates of kind of, hey, where are we at? Because it does help.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, even a 5-minute section would be great to do.
Well, what you're seeing too is
fresh in their mind.
there's other counties that are in other health districts and other areas that are looking for some kind of crisis center stand-up, and so that's some of the discussion too that we need to have with IAC, and just make sure, because that also helps come back the other way. So, cool.
And that's a pretty good list of community
Yeah.
individuals contributing.
Yeah, we've made some plaques that we're going to give out in the new year. 5th Street, Salvation Army, and then Bannock County. They've been serving us meals since day one for 2.5 years straight. And so we have little to no food budget because we just don't have to pay for it. And then we linked up with the food bank to give us snacks. So we have granola bars and crackers and that kind of stuff that we have in between meals. Thai Cafe gives us pizza for the weekend, and so we've have spent zero money on food, which is fantastic because it's expensive.
amazing.
So you have Bannock County Jail here. Is that the ones you're giving credit there?
Yeah,
For
because
the
they
food?
come, they bust the food out to the juvenile
Yeah.
detention center, and then we just pick up 7 or 8 trays from there.
That's awesome.
Great.
That's not who's paying for it.
We can switch it up.
No, we'll give credit. We don't care. That's all right.
Their staff does a good job. Mr. Chairman, I'd move to approve the feasibility report of the Southeast Idaho Behavioral Crisis Center as presented.
Have a motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Great
Yeah,
job.
thanks for coming down.
Merry Christmas.
So whenever I can get a copy of that,
Absolutely, I'll make sure we get
signed
you.
copy,
You bet.
we have to send it in by the 31st, so.
Okay.
And go right now.
Awesome.
We'll try to get it to you.
There you
today.
go.
Do it right now.
We'll do it right now.
Awesome.
Yep.
The only other thing we have on the agenda is sign a contract for
I'll run down.
Valley, the printer up at the event center.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we authorize the contract as presented.
This contract's a savings of $1,700 a year. We have motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, passes unanimously. With that being said, we are adjourned.